Hello, friend. Welcome to Science for Sleep. Tonight, we begin with something small and knotted and familiar. A pale golden shape that sits quietly in kitchens around the world. You have likely held it in your hand before, felt its firm skin, noticed the faint scent it releases even before it is cut. Ginger is often called a root, but it is not truly a root at all. It is a rhizome, an underground stem that grows sideways beneath the soil, thickening slowly in darkness, storing energy for the plant above. There is something distinctive about ginger. When you taste it, it feels warm. Not fiery like chili, not sharp like black pepper, but warm in a way that seems to spread gently outward. Yet that warmth is not heat. Ginger does not raise your body temperature. It contains a compound called gingerol, which activates special heat-sensitive receptors in your mouth and throat. These receptors, known as TVRP1 receptors, are designed to respond to real warmth. Ginger simply speaks their language. The signal travels to your brain, and your nervous system interprets it as heat, even though your temperature remains unchanged. It is chemistry translating into sensation. That small piece of ginger also does something deeper, farther inside the body. Studies suggest that ginger can gently increase gastric motility, meaning it helps food move through the stomach more efficiently. This is one reason ginger has been used for centuries to ease nausea, whether from motion sickness, early pregnancy, or a long journey at sea. It influences smooth muscle movement in the digestive tract, encouraging subtle forward motion rather than stagnation, a quiet nudge rather than a force. And ginger does not remain the same over time. When fresh ginger dries, gingerol slowly transforms into another compound called shogol. This transformation makes dried ginger taste sharper and more intense. So powdered ginger is not simply fresh ginger without water. It is ginger that has been altered by time and chemistry. The molecules themselves have shifted. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, you're welcome to subscribe. And if it feels natural, to leave a comment sharing where you're listening from tonight. It helps others find their way to this calm corner of the world, one sleepy traveler at a time. The quiet continues here, just as it is. Over the course of this gentle exploration, we will move from the soil where ginger grows to the receptors that translate its warmth, to the stomach muscles it quietly influences. We will follow it across ancient trade routes and into traditional medicine. We will look at how drying changes its chemistry, how cooking softens its edges, and how scent connects it to memory. From underground growth to internal sensation, ginger touches many systems, each one steady and unhurried. For now, you can simply picture it beneath the soil, a pale, branching stem expanding slowly in darkness. Above it, green shoots reaching toward light. Below, starches accumulating quietly, stored energy waiting for the right season. The rhizome thickens over months, unseen, patient. It does not rush. It does not strain. It grows by small increments, cell by cell. When you slice into fresh ginger, you see pale fibers running through it, releasing moisture and aroma as the cells break open. Volatile oils drift into the air. That scent travels directly to the olfactory bulb at the base of the brain, a pathway closely linked to emotion and memory. Even before you taste ginger, your body has begun responding to it. Perception begins with scent, And then there is that first moment on the tongue. The warmth blooming outward, receptors awakening, signals moving along nerves with quiet precision. No actual heat is produced, yet the experience is convincing. The body responds to patterns, and ginger offers one that feels steady and grounding. One clear signal replacing many smaller distractions. Tonight, we will take our time with this small underground stem. We will follow its chemistry, its history, its movement through the body, and the ways it has traveled across continents and centuries. There is no rush, only gradual unfolding. The warmth does not need to be intense to be real. It can be subtle. It can spread slowly. And as we continue, that quiet warmth can remain with you, steady and calm. Beneath the surface of the soil, ginger grows in a way that is easy to overlook. What appears above ground, the slender green shoots and narrow leaves, is only part of the story. The true body of the plant spreads horizontally below, hidden from view. Ginger is a rhizome, which means it is a stem that grows underground rather than upward into the air. Unlike a root, which mainly absorbs water and nutrients, a rhizome stores energy and produces new growth from small nodes along its length. If you imagine the soil gently parted, you would see the rhizome extending sideways, thick and pale, branching slowly over months. Each rounded segment contains nodes, and from these nodes, both roots and shoots can emerge. A single piece of ginger placed into warm, moist soil can produce an entirely new plant. This is called vegetative propagation. The plant does not need seeds to multiply. It simply extends itself, cell by cell, outward through the earth. Rhizomes are an efficient strategy for survival. By growing horizontally, the plant spreads without exposing its core structure to harsh sunlight or grazing animals. The soil acts as insulation. Temperature shifts are slower underground. Moisture remains longer. The rhizome becomes both anchor and storage unit. Inside its firm, fibrous body, starch accumulates over time. These stored carbohydrates act as energy reserves, allowing the plant to send up new shoots when conditions are favorable. Ginger thrives in warm climates where the soil remains loose and rich. It prefers humidity and partial shade rather than harsh, direct sun. In tropical regions, the air remains heavy with moisture, and the ground stays soft enough for the rhizome to expand. The growth cycle typically lasts 8 to 10 months. During that time, the underground stem gradually thickens. It does not leap forward. It expands in increments so small they cannot be seen from one day to the next. The surface of the rhizome carries faint rings and subtle lines. These markings indicate where previous leaves once grew. Each ring is evidence of a past shoot, a reminder that what we hold in our hands is part of a larger cycle. When harvested young, ginger is tender, its skin thin and easily scraped away. As it matures, the outer layer thickens, fibers strengthen, and the interior becomes more structured. Age alters texture, just as drying alters chemistry. Beneath the soil, the rhizome does not grow alone. Microorganisms surround it. Soil bacteria and fungi interact with its roots, helping exchange nutrients. This relationship between plant and soil life is quiet, but essential. The rhizome absorbs water through fine roots that extend downward, while the thick stem continues its sideways expansion. Growth occurs at specialized tissue called meristems, regions where cells divide and multiply. These dividing cells are responsible for the gradual enlargement of the ginger we eventually harvest. The shape we recognize in grocery stores is a collection of these expansions. Each knuckle is a branching decision the plant once made underground. Each protrusion was once a potential shoot, a possible direction. When a farmer harvests ginger, they gently lift it from the soil, often by hand, loosening the earth around it to avoid damaging the structure. The soil falls away, revealing the pale, irregular form that had been hidden for months. This pattern of sideways growth is not unique to ginger. Other plants, such as turmeric and certain grasses, use rhizomes as well. It is a strategy built on patience and stability. Instead of reaching quickly upward, the plant first secures itself below. Energy is stored before it is displayed. Strength is built quietly, out of sight. If you picture that underground network now, it does not need to be dramatic. It is simply a pale stem resting in dark soil, slowly widening, gradually branching. Moisture seeps through the earth. Nutrients dissolve and travel toward fine root hairs. Cells divide in microscopic layers. There is no urgency beneath the surface, only steady accumulation. The part of ginger we taste begins here, in darkness, long before it meets air or light. The warmth it later creates on the tongue originates in this hidden growth, in stored starch and developing compounds forming within the rhizome cells. The plant's strategy is simple. Grow slowly, store energy, extend outward when ready. And beneath the soil, that expansion continues without spectacle, guided by moisture, warmth, and time. There is a particular moment when ginger first touches the tongue. It does not arrive with sharpness or immediate fire. Instead, it begins softly, almost neutral. And then something shifts. A warmth appears, spreading outward in small waves. It feels physical, convincing, as though temperature itself has risen. Yet if you were to measure the surface of the skin or the air inside the mouth, you would find no change at all. The sensation comes from chemistry, not heat. Inside the lining of your mouth are tiny sensory proteins known as TRPV, 1 receptors. These receptors exist to detect real warmth and potential heat damage. They respond when temperatures rise above a certain threshold, sending signals along nerve fibers toward the brain. Ginger contains a compound called gingerol, and gingerol fits into these receptors like a key. When it binds to them, the receptor opens, and the nervous system sends a message that resembles the message of warmth. The body is responding to activation, not temperature. This same receptor family is also activated by capsaicin, the compound in chili peppers. But gingerol stimulates these receptors more gently. The signal it creates is softer, less intense. Instead of burning, the experience feels warm and expanding. The nerves involved are part of the trigeminal system, a network responsible for sensations in the face, mouth, and nasal passages. When gingerol interacts with these pathways, perception begins to shift. The warmth is real in experience, even if it is not thermal in measurement. This distinction between perception and physical temperature is an example of how the nervous system translates chemical input into meaningful sensation. Sensory receptors do not measure abstract ideas. they respond to stimuli. When gingerol activates TRPV1 receptors, ion channels within the nerve cell open. Calcium and sodium ions move inward. Electrical signals travel toward the brain. The brain receives the pattern and interprets it as warmth. Perception is constructed through these patterns. If you imagine the process unfolding, it is not dramatic. Molecules settle onto receptors. Signals travel along fine nerve fibers. The brain assembles sensation from electrical pulses. There is no flame, no heat source, only communication between cells. The warmth spreads because the nervous system integrates signals over time and space, blending them into a continuous experience. Interestingly, repeated exposure to ginger can slightly reduce the intensity of the sensation. TRPV1 receptors can become temporarily desensitized after activation. This is one reason strong flavors may feel milder after the first bite. The receptor responds vigorously at first, then gradually adjusts. This adaptation is part of how the body protects itself from overstimulation. There is also a subtle link between this warmth and circulation. While ginger does not directly raise core body temperature, mild activation of sensory nerves can create a perception of increased blood flow. The feeling of warmth can be enough to signal comfort, particularly in cooler environments. The brain often associates warmth with safety and relaxation. When a clear, singular sensory signal is present, it can gently reduce background noise within the mind. Strong flavors can narrow attention. When ginger occupies the sensory system, other subtle distractions may fade slightly into the background. The nervous system prioritizes the most distinct signal. In that moment, there is less room for scattered input. One sensation becomes central. This does not stimulate in a restless way. Instead, it can organize perception, giving the body something clear and defined to process. The illusion of heat from ginger is a reminder that experience is shaped by interpretation. The receptors do their work faithfully. The nerves carry their messages with precision. The brain interprets the pattern. Warmth is constructed from chemistry. If you picture it now, you might imagine those microscopic receptors opening briefly, allowing charged particles to move across delicate membranes. Electrical signals move in quiet sequences. Information travels toward the brainstem, and then higher regions where sensation becomes conscious. It is all happening in fractions of seconds, yet it feels gradual. The warmth does not need to be intense to be meaningful. It begins small. It expands gently. It fades slowly as the compounds disperse and receptors return to their resting state. The body resets. Ginger offers stimulation without agitation, activation without escalation, a signal strong enough to notice, yet calm enough to remain steady. And as those receptors settle back into stillness, the sensation softens, leaving only a faint memory of warmth where chemistry briefly spoke the language of heat. Time changes ginger in ways that are invisible at first glance. A fresh piece of ginger, firm and moist, carries a bright, almost citrus-like sharpness. Its surface is smooth when newly harvested, its interior pale and juicy. But when ginger is sliced and left to dry, or when it is exposed to heat during cooking, something subtle begins to happen at the molecular level. The compound responsible for much of fresh ginger's warmth is gingerol. Gingerol is relatively stable, while the rhizome remains intact and hydrated. Its structure includes a side chain that gives it both flavor and biological activity. But when moisture is removed through drying, or when ginger is heated, gingerol undergoes a transformation. It loses a small part of its molecular structure and becomes shogol. Shogol is sharper. This change is not symbolic. It is structural. When water leaves the plant tissue, and when heat accelerates chemical reactions, the arrangement of atoms shifts slightly. Bonds rearrange. The molecule becomes more pungent and more concentrated in sensation. This is why dried ginger tastes stronger than fresh ginger, even though it originated from the same plant. The chemistry has moved forward quietly with time. If you picture the process, you might imagine thin slices of ginger resting in warm air. Moisture slowly evaporates. Cells that were once plump with water begin to contract. Inside those cells, gingerol molecules shift configuration. The transformation does not happen all at once. It occurs gradually, influenced by temperature and duration. The longer ginger dries, the more pronounced the change can become. Heat speeds this process. When ginger is added to simmering water or baked into dough, thermal energy increases molecular motion. This movement allows chemical reactions to occur more easily. Gingerol converts more readily into shogol under higher temperatures. This is one reason ginger in baked goods or long-cooked dishes often carries a deeper, more concentrated warmth than freshly grated ginger added at the end of cooking. Drying also concentrates compounds simply by removing water. Fresh ginger contains a high percentage of moisture. As water evaporates, the remaining substances become proportionally more abundant. The fibers tighten. The texture becomes firmer. The aroma deepens. In powdered ginger, the flavor is not just different because of shogol formation. It is also intensified because the plant material has been condensed. This chemical evolution explains why fresh and dried ginger are rarely interchangeable in recipes. Fresh ginger brings brightness and a lighter, almost green quality. Dried ginger delivers intensity and depth. Both originate from the same rhizome, yet time and temperature guide them down slightly different sensory paths. There are other compounds involved as well. Ginger contains zingerone, which can form when gingerol breaks down under heat. Zingerone has a sweeter, less sharp flavor compared to gingerol and shogol. This is one reason ginger cooked gently can taste warm and rounded rather than piercing. The balance between these compounds shifts depending on preparation. If you imagine this unfolding inside a piece of ginger placed into a warm oven, you might picture molecules vibrating slightly faster as heat energy moves through them. Bonds loosen, rearrange, and settle into new forms. Water vapor rises invisibly into the air. What remains is drier, denser, and chemically altered. None of this is dramatic. There is no visible flash of change. The slice looks similar before and after drying. But beneath the surface, tiny rearrangements accumulate. Over hours or days, enough molecules convert to noticeably change flavor. The warmth on the tongue becomes sharper, more direct. This transformation is a quiet example of how time shapes matter. The rhizome that once grew slowly underground continues to evolve even after harvest. Its chemistry responds to air, to heat, to dryness. The plant's stored energy shifts form. When you open a jar of ground ginger, you are holding not just dried root, but the product of chemical patience. Molecules have rearranged themselves in response to environment. The flavor you taste is a record of that process. Freshness and dryness are not opposites. They are stages. Gingerol, becoming shoggle, is simply part of the plant's ongoing interaction with temperature and time. What began beneath the soil continues to change long after the rhizome leaves the ground. And as those molecular shifts settle into new stability, the warmth they create carries a slightly different tone, shaped not only by growth, but by transformation through quiet exposure. Inside the body, there is a steady rhythm that often goes unnoticed. Muscles contract in gentle waves, pushing food forward through the digestive tract. These movements are not abrupt. They are coordinated and gradual, guided by signals from the enteric nervous system, sometimes called the second brain of the gut. Most of the time, this motion happens without awareness. But when it slows or becomes irregular, the sensation can shift. Heaviness may linger, nausea can appear. Ginger has long been associated with easing that unsettled feeling. Modern studies suggest that ginger can gently increase gastric emptying, which means it may help the stomach move its contents into the small intestine a bit more efficiently. The stomach does not squeeze all at once. It contracts in rhythmic waves, a process known as peristalsis. These smooth muscle contractions are coordinated by networks of neurons embedded within the digestive tract itself. Ginger appears to influence this motion, encouraging a slightly steadier forward flow. The compounds responsible are still being studied, but gingerol and related molecules seem to interact with receptors in the gastrointestinal system. Some evidence suggests that ginger may enhance antral contractions, the movements that mix and push food downward. This effect is subtle, not forceful. It is more of a gentle encouragement than a sudden acceleration. This is one reason ginger has been studied for motion sickness. When the inner ear senses movement that does not match visual input, the brain may interpret this mismatch as a signal of distress. Nausea can follow. Clinical trials have shown that ginger may reduce symptoms of nausea in some individuals during travel. The mechanism is not entirely dependent on the stomach alone. Ginger may also influence serotonin receptors involved in nausea pathways. Serotonin plays many roles in the body, including regulating mood and gut activity. A significant portion of serotonin receptors are located within the digestive tract. Ginger's interaction with these pathways may help reduce the signals that trigger nausea. This does not eliminate motion, but it can soften the body's response to it. Ginger has also been studied in early pregnancy, where nausea is common. Several controlled trials have suggested that moderate amounts of ginger can reduce feelings of queasiness in some people. The effect tends to be mild but measurable. It does not override the body's signals. Instead, it seems to gently modulate them. If you imagine the process unfolding, you might picture the stomach as a flexible chamber lined with smooth muscle. Food rests there briefly before moving onward. When ginger compounds enter the bloodstream or interact locally with digestive receptors, signals shift slightly. Contractions become a bit more coordinated. Movement continues. The sensation of stagnation eases. There is also the simple act of drinking warm ginger tea. Warm liquid alone can relax smooth muscle and stimulate circulation in the digestive tract. Combined with ginger's mild pro-motility effects, the experience can feel steadying. Steam rises from the cup. Aroma enters through the nose. Warmth spreads across the chest and abdomen. Sensation and physiology align gently. Ginger also increases saliva production. The sharpness of its compounds stimulates salivary glands, beginning the digestive process even before swallowing. Saliva contains enzymes that start breaking down food. This initial step prepares the stomach for what follows. The body responds in sequence. None of these effects are dramatic. Ginger is not a powerful pharmaceutical agent. It does not force digestion. It participates in it. It interacts with receptors, influences muscle patterns, and supports motion that is already present. The digestive tract remains in control of its rhythm. Ginger simply offers a small adjustment within that rhythm. If you picture the digestive system now, it does not need to feel complicated. It is a long, flexible tube lined with muscle, quietly coordinating waves of contraction. Ginger moves through it like any other food, releasing compounds along the way. Signals shift slightly. Motion continues. The warmth that began on the tongue now travels deeper, influencing internal sensation. Movement resumes its natural pace. The body prefers flow over stillness in digestion. When that flow is steady, discomfort often softens. And within that steady motion, the small influence of ginger remains measured and calm, encouraging forward movement without urgency. Long before ginger was sliced into tea or folded into bread, it traveled, not quickly and not in small distances, but across entire oceans. Dried pieces of ginger, light enough to carry and durable enough to endure humidity and salt air, moved along trade routes that connected continents. The rhizome that once thickened quietly beneath tropical soil found itself packed into woven baskets, sealed inside ceramic jars, and stored in the holds of wooden ships. Ginger is native to Southeast Asia. Botanical evidence places its origin in the warm, humid regions of what is now India and parts of southern China. These climates, with consistent rainfall and loose soil, allowed the rhizome to thrive. Farmers cultivated ginger thousands of years ago, selecting pieces to replant, gradually shaping the varieties that would become staples in kitchens and medicine cabinets. From these origins, ginger entered the vast network of early maritime trade. The Indian Ocean was not a barrier, but a highway. Seasonal monsoon winds carried ships predictably between East Africa, the Arabian Peninsula, India, and Southeast Asia. Sailors understood the rhythm of these winds. They loaded cargo during one season and returned during another. Among spices like cinnamon and pepper, ginger was highly valued because it could be dried. Once moisture was removed, the rhizome became resistant to spoilage, light enough to transport in quantity. Archaeological records suggest that ginger reached the Roman Empire through these trade routes. Roman merchants imported spices from the east, sometimes through intermediaries in Arabia. By the 1st century CE, ginger was mentioned in Roman texts. The physician Dioscorides described its warming properties in his medical writings. It was used not only in cooking, but in remedies. In Roman markets, ginger was expensive. its long journey made it rare and prized. If you imagine those trade routes now, you might picture wooden ships moving steadily across open water, sails filled with wind, cargo stored below deck. Inside sealed containers, dried ginger rested in darkness once again, much like it had beneath the soil. The difference was movement. Instead of expanding slowly underground, it crossed distances measured in thousands of miles. Chinese medicinal texts also reference ginger early in recorded history. In traditional Chinese medicine, fresh ginger and dried ginger are classified differently because of their varying intensity. The Shenong Bencao Jing, an early herbal text compiled over 2,000 years ago, includes ginger among its listed plants. Its uses were described in terms of warmth and digestive support. The documentation reflects systematic observation, passed down and refined through generations. As trade expanded into medieval Europe, ginger remained valuable. By the Middle Ages, it was one of the most commonly imported spices in European markets. It was used in preserved sweets, in sauces for meat, and in early versions of gingerbread. Because it traveled so far, it retained a sense of rarity. Its cost was significant enough that only the wealthy could afford it regularly. Records from medieval England show that ginger was priced alongside pepper and other imported spices. Drying was essential to this journey. Fresh ginger would have spoiled quickly on long voyages, but dried ginger, transformed chemically through the loss of water, became stable. Sugar content increased, flavor intensified, and the rhizome became compact and durable. What began as a living underground stem became a portable commodity. There is something steady about that image. Ginger growing quietly in Southeast Asia, harvested by hand, sliced and dried under the sun, then loaded onto ships that followed the pull of seasonal winds. Months later, it appeared in distant markets, its origin carried invisibly within it. Trade routes shaped more than commerce. They shaped taste. They carried plants across climates and cultures. Ginger's journey through seas and along trade winds allowed it to move far beyond the soil where it began, and in doing so, it became something more than a rhizome. It became a spice traveling farther than its roots ever could. Long before ginger was measured in grams or studied in laboratories, it was described in terms of warmth. Not temperature, but quality. In early systems of medicine, plants were observed carefully over generations. Their effects were noted. Patterns were recorded. Ginger became known not only for its taste, but for the feeling it created inside the body. In Ayurveda, the traditional medical system of India that has been practiced for thousands of years, ginger is classified as a warming herb. This classification does not refer to actual heat production. It refers to the way ginger stimulates digestion and circulation, and the way it feels once consumed. Fresh ginger and dried ginger are treated differently within this system. Fresh ginger is considered milder and more suited for balancing digestion gently. Dried ginger is viewed as stronger, more penetrating in its effect. Ayurvedic texts describe ginger as supporting Agni, which refers to digestive fire. In modern physiological terms, this aligns loosely with its influence on gastric motility and digestive stimulation. Practitioners observed that ginger seemed to encourage appetite and reduce feelings of heaviness after meals. Over centuries, these observations were refined into structured systems of classification. Traditional Chinese medicine also distinguishes between fresh and dried ginger. Fresh ginger, known as shengjiang, is often used to support digestion and address mild nausea. Dried ginger, known as ganjiang, is considered more intense in its warming quality. The distinction reflects the chemical transformation we explored earlier, where gingerol converts into shogol through drying. The difference in molecular structure leads to a difference in sensory intensity, and traditional practitioners noticed this long before modern chemistry explained it. In these early systems, ginger was often prepared as a decoction. A decoction involves simmering plant material in water for a period of time, allowing water-soluble compounds to extract slowly. This differs from simply adding fresh slices to hot water briefly. Time and temperature shape the strength of the preparation. A longer simmer yields a stronger infusion. The method of preparation was understood to influence the plant's effect. Ginger was also used in traditional contexts to support circulation and comfort during cold weather. Its warming sensation, produced by receptor activation, likely contributed to the perception of improved circulation. Observers noted that people often felt less chilled after consuming ginger tea. Whether through mild vasodilation or sensory influence, the experience reinforced its classification as warming. These early medical traditions were observational rather than experimental in the modern sense. Practitioners relied on repeated experience across many individuals. Patterns were recorded if ginger consistently reduced nausea or improved appetite. That pattern became knowledge. Over time, this knowledge was formalized into texts and teachings. In Chinese herbal formulas, ginger was rarely used alone. It was combined with other plants to balance effects. Its warming quality could be softened or amplified depending on context. The blending of herbs reflects a nuanced understanding that plants interact not only with the body, but with one another. If you imagine a quiet kitchen centuries ago, you might picture ginger slices simmering gently in water, steam rising slowly into the air. The scent fills the room. Someone tastes the liquid and notes its effect. Perhaps it settles the stomach. Perhaps it eases discomfort. These small observations accumulate. Over years, then generations, they form structured knowledge. Modern science often approaches plants by isolating compounds and measuring outcomes. Traditional systems approached plants through repeated lived experience. Though their language differed, both systems sought patterns. Both aimed to understand how substances influence the body. The classification of ginger as warming was not arbitrary. It was grounded in sensation, digestion, and circulation. Even without knowledge of TRPV1 receptors or gastric motility, early practitioners recognized the plant's consistent effects. The rhizome that grew quietly underground became part of a wider framework of human understanding. Its warmth was catalogued, its uses recorded, its preparations refined. And through careful observation passed from teacher to student, generation to generation, ginger found its place not only in kitchens, but in structured systems of healing, where human attention shaped herbal knowledge slowly and deliberately. The warmth from ginger does not stay confined to the mouth. After that first sensation on the tongue, there is often a feeling that spreads outward, toward the chest, the hands, sometimes even the face. it can feel as though circulation itself has shifted. This spreading sensation has led many traditions to describe ginger as a plant that supports blood flow. Modern physiology offers a quiet explanation for this perception. Ginger contains compounds that may influence blood vessels in subtle ways. Some research suggests that ginger can promote mild vasodilation, which means a slight widening of blood vessels. When blood vessels widen, even slightly, blood can flow more easily through peripheral tissues. This does not cause dramatic changes in blood pressure in healthy individuals, but it may alter how warmth is perceived in the body. Vasodilation allows more blood to reach the surface of the skin. Blood carries heat from the core of the body outward. When circulation to the extremities increases, the hands and feet may feel warmer, even though core body temperature remains stable. This gentle shift can be enough to create a sense of comfort. The sensation of warmth is not always dependent on measurable temperature change. It is influenced by nerve signaling and blood flow patterns. Ginger interacts with both. Its activation of heat-sensitive receptors begins the perception of warmth. If mild vasodilation accompanies this activation, the experience becomes layered. Sensory input and circulatory response align. There have been studies examining ginger's effects on peripheral circulation and cold sensitivity. Some findings suggest that ginger supplementation may reduce the perception of cold in certain individuals, especially in cooler environments. The mechanism is likely modest and involves both receptor activation and circulatory influence. It is not a dramatic shift, but rather a subtle enhancement of comfort. If you imagine blood vessels now, picture them as flexible tubes woven through tissue. They are not rigid pipes. Their walls contain smooth muscle that can contract or relax. When that muscle relaxes slightly, the vessel widens. Blood flows with less resistance. The change is measured in millimeters, but the effect on sensation can be noticeable. Ginger does not force this relaxation. It may encourage it through biochemical pathways involving nitric oxide and prostaglandin signaling. These are chemical messengers that influence vascular tone. The changes are small, but in a system as sensitive as the circulatory network, even small adjustments can be felt. Circulation is closely tied to comfort perception. When hands are cold, discomfort increases. When warmth returns, even gradually, the body registers safety. Blood flow carries oxygen and nutrients, but it also carries reassurance in the form of steady temperature regulation. There is also the psychological aspect of warmth. The brain associates warmth with shelter, with protection from the environment. A warm drink on a cold day does more than heat the throat. It signals stability. Ginger's sensory and circulatory effects can contribute to that feeling. It is important to note that ginger does not cause fever. Fever involves a regulated rise in core body temperature controlled by the hypothalamus. Ginger's warmth does not alter this internal thermostat. The sensation remains peripheral and receptor-based. The body's core temperature remains steady. If you picture someone holding a warm cup of ginger tea, steam rising gently, the hands wrapped around the mug, the warmth spreads gradually. Blood vessels in the fingers may widen slightly. The scent travels upward. The body shifts from tightness toward ease. The spreading warmth is not dramatic. It does not rush through the system. It unfolds gradually, beginning at the mouth and moving outward through perception and circulation combined. Ginger's influence on circulation is subtle and supportive rather than forceful. It aligns with the body's natural regulatory systems rather than overriding them. Warmth can be felt without being measured. Blood can move slightly more freely without being seen. Sensation and physiology blend quietly together. And in that blending, warmth becomes something experienced more than quantified, a presence that is felt gently rather than measured precisely. Inside the body, long before discomfort is noticed, there is constant activity at the cellular level. Cells communicate through chemical signals. They respond to injury, to stress, to infection. Part of this communication involves inflammation, a protective process designed to isolate harm and begin repair. Inflammation is not inherently negative. It is necessary. Without it, wounds would not heal and infections would spread unchecked. But inflammation is also something that must remain balanced. When cells detect damage, they release signaling molecules. These molecules increase blood flow to the affected area and attract immune cells. The region may become warm, slightly swollen, or tender. This is acute inflammation. It is short-term and purposeful. Once repair is complete, the signals fade, and the tissue returns to baseline. Chronic inflammation is different. It involves prolonged signaling at low levels, sometimes without obvious injury. Researchers study chronic inflammation because it is associated with various long-term health conditions. The body's signaling pathways, especially those involving enzymes like cyclooxygenase, often abbreviated as COX, help regulate inflammatory responses. Ginger contains compounds that interact with these pathways. Gingerol and related molecules have been shown in laboratory studies to influence COX enzymes. These enzymes are involved in the production of prostaglandins, which are lipid compounds that contribute to inflammation and pain signaling. By modulating these enzymes, gingerol may slightly reduce the production of certain inflammatory mediators. The effect is not dramatic. Ginger is not comparable to strong pharmaceutical anti-inflammatory drugs. Its influence appears to be mild and gradual. In controlled studies, ginger supplementation has shown small reductions in markers associated with inflammation, particularly in individuals experiencing joint discomfort. These findings suggest a supportive role rather than a corrective one. Ginger also contains antioxidant compounds. Antioxidants help neutralize free radicals, which are reactive molecules produced during normal metabolism and in response to environmental stress. Free radicals can contribute to cellular damage when present in excess. Antioxidants stabilize these molecules, preventing them from reacting further. Ginger's phenolic compounds, including gingerol, have demonstrated antioxidant activity in laboratory settings. If you imagine this process now, it unfolds at a microscopic scale. Within cells, enzymes convert fatty acids into signaling molecules. Some of these signals increase blood flow and attract immune cells. Gingerol molecules may interact along this pathway, reducing certain signals slightly. Free radicals drift within the cellular environment. Antioxidants bind to them, neutralizing their reactivity. None of this occurs in isolation. The body is a network of overlapping systems. inflammatory pathways are interconnected with metabolic and immune processes. Ginger's influence appears to be one small variable within that network. Clinical trials examining ginger's impact on joint discomfort, particularly in osteoarthritis, have shown modest improvements in some participants. The reductions in discomfort are generally described as mild. This aligns with ginger's broader pattern of action. It does not override the body's regulatory systems. It interacts with them gently. The perception of inflammation often includes warmth and swelling. Ginger's warmth is sensory rather than inflammatory. It activates receptors without triggering immune alarm. This distinction matters. The warmth of ginger is not a sign of damage. It is a signal interpreted by the nervous system. If you picture inflammation now, imagine a small area of tissue with increased blood flow and active immune cells. Now picture gingerol molecules moving quietly through the bloodstream, interacting with enzymes at a subtle level. The balance shifts slightly. The signaling softens. Inflammation is part of survival. It must occur when needed. The goal is not to eliminate it entirely, but to keep it regulated. Ginger's compounds appear to participate in this regulation in a modest way. Over time, small influences can accumulate, not in dramatic leaps, but in gradual adjustments. Within the quiet work of cells, ginger becomes part of a larger conversation between enzymes, immune cells, and signaling molecules. And through small molecular interactions repeated over time, the body maintains its balance, guided not by force, but by subtle shifts within its own internal chemistry. The moment ginger is sliced, something invisible begins to move through the air. Before it is tasted, before it reaches the stomach or the bloodstream, its presence is carried upward in scent. The aroma is sharp but bright, slightly citrus, slightly earthy. It does not remain contained within the plant tissue. It drifts outward in small, volatile particles that rise from the cut surface. When the knife breaks through the cell walls of fresh ginger, stored oils are released. Inside the rhizome, aromatic compounds are sealed within tiny compartments. Crushing or slicing disrupts these compartments, allowing the oils to escape. Among these compounds is zingiberine, a sesquiterpene that contributes significantly to ginger's characteristic aroma. Zingiberine is volatile, meaning it evaporates easily at room temperature. Once airborne, it becomes part of the air you breathe. That scent does not wander aimlessly. When you inhale, airborne molecules enter the nasal cavity and encounter specialized receptors located in the olfactory epithelium. These receptors are designed to detect specific molecular shapes. Each odorant molecule binds to certain receptors, creating a unique pattern of activation. Ginger's volatile compounds generate a pattern that the brain recognizes as its distinctive scent. The signals travel directly to the olfactory bulb, a structure at the base of the brain just above the nasal passages. Unlike many other sensory systems, smell bypasses the thalamus, which normally acts as a relay station for sensory information. Instead, olfactory signals move directly into areas associated with emotion and memory, including the amygdala and hippocampus. This direct pathway is one reason scent can feel immediate and emotionally resonant. If you picture this process now, you might imagine molecules floating in the air after a slice of ginger is cut. They enter the nose with a quiet breath, Receptors activate in pattern clusters. Electrical signals move toward the brain in organized waves. Within moments, recognition occurs. Smell influences emotional tone in subtle ways. Certain scents can evoke comfort or alertness. Ginger's aroma is often associated with warmth, cooking, and familiarity. For some, it may bring memories of tea prepared during illness, or the scent of baking in colder months. These associations are not universal, but they are powerful when present. The hippocampus stores contextual memory, and scent has privileged access to that system. Research in neuroscience shows that olfactory stimuli can influence mood and stress levels. While ginger has not been studied as extensively as lavender in this context, its aroma engages the same neural pathways. The brain responds to scent patterns, whether they are floral, woody, or spicy. The perception is processed quickly and often subconsciously. There is also a physiological aspect to inhaling volatile oils. Breathing in aromatic compounds can slightly alter respiratory rhythm. When attention shifts towards scent, breathing may slow naturally. The act of noticing aroma can bring awareness to the breath without forcing it. Ginger's scent also signals the body to prepare for digestion. The cephalic phase of digestion begins before food is swallowed. Smell stimulates salivary glands and initiates gastric secretions. The body anticipates nourishment based on aroma alone. This early response is coordinated through neural pathways connecting smell to digestive function. If you imagine fresh ginger now, sliced open on a wooden board, the air above it carries those invisible compounds upward. The scent travels through space and into the nose. Recognition follows. Memory may surface quietly. The aroma does not need to be intense to be effective. It is enough that receptors activate and signals move forward. Scent is a form of information. Ginger communicates before it is tasted. It signals through volatile molecules rather than visible change. And as those molecules drift into perception, the connection between plant and brain becomes immediate, with aroma traveling directly into awareness, linking chemistry with memory in a single quiet breath. If you were to slice a piece of ginger cleanly in half and look closely at the surface, you would see that it is not smooth or uniform inside. The interior is pale yellow to light gold, with faint fibers running lengthwise through its body. These fibers are not random. They reflect the plant's structure, the way its tissues formed slowly underground over many months. Ginger's texture tells a story of age and growth. Fresh, young ginger tends to be moist and tender. Its skin is thin, almost translucent, and can often be scraped away with the edge of a spoon. Inside, the flesh is crisp, but not woody. The fibers are present, but they are soft and easily cut. This is because young rhizomes have not yet built up extensive structural reinforcement. Their cells are still rich in water, and their starch reserves are developing. As ginger matures, its texture changes. The longer it remains in the soil, the more fibrous it becomes. Structural fibers strengthen to support the plant's continued growth. These fibers are made primarily of cellulose, a rigid carbohydrate that gives plants their shape. Cellulose forms the walls of plant cells, creating a framework that holds the rhizome together. When you slice older ginger, you may notice strands that resist the knife slightly. These fibrous strands run along the length of the rhizome, following its horizontal growth pattern. They developed as the plant expanded sideways beneath the soil, reinforcing its structure against pressure from surrounding earth. Fresh ginger contains a high percentage of water. Water fills the plant's cells, maintaining turgor pressure, which keeps the tissue firm. When ginger is grated or crushed, this water is released along with dissolved compounds like gingerol and aromatic oils. The juice carries much of the flavor. Breaking the cell walls allows these compounds to spread outward. If you imagine the process, picture a slice of ginger placed under gentle pressure from a grater. The rigid cell walls fracture. Moisture seeps out. Tiny droplets carry flavor compounds into the air and onto the surface of the food being prepared. The scent intensifies. The warmth becomes more pronounced. Inside the rhizome, starch is stored in specialized structures within the cells. These starch reserves provide energy for the plant's shoots when they grow upward toward light. The presence of starch contributes to ginger's slightly dense texture. It is not hollow. It is not airy. It feels substantial in the hand because it is packed with stored energy accumulated during its time underground. As ginger ages further, its outer layer thickens. The skin becomes tougher and more papery. Moisture content may decrease slightly. The interior fibers become more noticeable. This is why recipes sometimes recommend slicing ginger across the grain. Cutting perpendicular to the fibers shortens them, making the texture less stringy in finished dishes. The structure of ginger is not decorative. Every fiber serves a purpose. It supports growth, stores energy, and protects the rhizome from environmental stress. The dense arrangement of cells shields the inner tissues from minor damage. If you picture the rhizome now, you might see a cross-section illuminated softly. Concentric patterns of cells, fine strands running lengthwise, moisture held within microscopic compartments, each cell wall made of layered cellulose. Texture shapes experience. The fibrous nature of ginger influences how it feels when chewed. Younger ginger feels smoother and juicier. Older ginger offers more resistance, releasing flavor more gradually as fibers break down during chewing or cooking. Structure also influences extraction. When ginger is sliced thinly, more surface area is exposed, allowing volatile compounds to escape more readily. When it is left in larger chunks, flavor release is slower and gentler. The arrangement of cells determines how quickly compounds move from plant tissue into water or air. What appears simple at first glance is layered beneath the surface. The rhizome's internal architecture reflects months of growth in darkness. Cells divided, fibers strengthened, starch accumulated. And when that structure is finally cut open, crushed, or simmered, its internal design shapes the sensation that follows, with texture guiding how flavor unfolds across the senses and how warmth is released from within its carefully built form. When ginger is placed into simmering water, something gentle begins to change. The sharp brightness of fresh slices softens. The edges round out. Steam rises slowly from the surface of the pot, carrying faint aromatic traces upward into the air. Heat does not simply warm ginger, it reshapes it. Cooking initiates chemistry. Earlier, we explored how gingerol can transform into shogol during drying. Heat continues that transformation. As temperature rises, molecular motion increases. Gingerol becomes less stable and may break down into related compounds, including zingerone. Zingerone carries a smoother, sweeter warmth compared to the sharper bite of fresh gingerol. This is one reason cooked ginger often tastes deeper and more mellow than raw ginger. Heat reduces perceived sharpness in more than one way. First, volatile compounds begin to evaporate. The same aromatic oils that rise into the air when ginger is sliced also lift away during cooking. Some of ginger's more pungent top notes drift off with steam. What remains in the liquid or dish is slightly less intense in aroma. Second, heat alters texture. As ginger simmers, its cell walls soften. Water penetrates the plant tissue. Fibers relax. Compounds dissolve gradually into the surrounding liquid. The initial bite fades into something rounder. The warmth remains, but it spreads more evenly rather than arriving sharply. If you imagine thin slices of ginger resting in gently bubbling water, you might picture tiny currents circulating around them. Heat energy moves into the plant tissue. Molecular bonds vibrate slightly faster. Some compounds convert into new forms. Others dissolve and disperse. Steam carries a fraction of aroma upward and away. In sweet dishes, especially baked goods, additional reactions occur. Gingerbread, for example, combines ginger with sugar and flour. When baked, sugars undergo caramelization and Maillard reactions, processes that create deeper flavors and brown coloring. Ginger's warmth integrates with these sweet, toasted notes. The spice no longer stands alone. It blends into a broader flavor landscape shaped by heat. Caramelization occurs when sugars are heated to high temperatures, breaking down and forming new compounds that taste rich and complex. In gingerbread, molasses and brown sugar contribute to this effect. Ginger complements these changes. The sharper notes of raw ginger would feel out of place in such a dish. Cooking transforms it into something harmonious with sweetness. Spice blending also plays a role. Gingerbread typically includes cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg. Each of these spices carries its own volatile oils and phenolic compounds. Heat encourages these compounds to mingle. No single spice dominates entirely. Instead, they form a balanced profile. Ginger's warmth becomes part of a collective experience. The chemical conversion of ginger continues during cooking. Some gingerol becomes zingerone. Shogol may also form under sustained heat. These compounds differ slightly in structure, but share warming properties. The balance between them depends on cooking time and temperature. Short simmering preserves more brightness. Longer cooking yields deeper, softer warmth. If you picture a pot left on low heat for an extended time, you might imagine the liquid darkening slightly, flavor intensifying gradually. Molecules dissolve into water, distributing evenly throughout the broth or tea. The sharp first impression fades into sustained warmth. Heat is not destructive in this context. It is transformative. It reshapes flavor without eliminating it. What began as a bright, almost citrus-like sharpness becomes mellow and grounded. There is something steady about that shift. The same rhizome that felt vivid and lively when raw becomes soothing when simmered. Steam rises, edges soften, intensity smooths into depth, and through warmth applied slowly and consistently, ginger reveals another side of itself, transformed not by force, but by time and gentle heat, working quietly together. Steam rises slowly from the surface of a cup, carrying with it the faint scent of ginger. The slices rest at the bottom, pale against the clear water, releasing their compounds gradually. Infusion is not abrupt. It is a patient exchange between plant and liquid, guided by time and temperature. When ginger is placed into hot water, water-soluble compounds begin to dissolve. Gingerol, certain phenolic compounds, and small aromatic molecules move from the plant tissue into the surrounding liquid. This movement is driven by diffusion. Molecules naturally travel from areas of higher concentration to areas of lower concentration. Inside the sliced ginger, concentration is high. In the water, it is initially 0. Over time, balance shifts. Temperature plays a significant role in this process. Hotter water increases molecular motion. As heat energy spreads through the liquid, molecules move more rapidly. This increased motion accelerates diffusion. Compounds leave the plant tissue more quickly and distribute throughout the cup. A hotter infusion extracts flavor faster. Cooler water extracts more slowly and often less completely. Time also shapes the strength of the infusion. A brief steep of 2 or 3 minutes produces a lighter tea. The warmth remains subtle. Extending the steep to 10 or 15 minutes deepens the flavor. More compounds dissolve. The liquid becomes slightly more opaque and aromatic. The transformation is gradual, not sudden. The physical form of the ginger influences extraction as well. Thin slices expose a moderate surface area. Grated ginger exposes far more. When the rhizome is grated, cell walls are broken extensively. Juice is released immediately. More compounds are accessible to the water at once. This is why grated ginger produces a stronger infusion in less time compared to intact slices. If you picture the process, imagine water molecules moving around the edges of a ginger slice. They press gently against its surface. They slip into tiny openings where cell walls have been cut. Compounds detach and enter the liquid. The concentration slowly equalizes. Not all compounds dissolve equally. Some of ginger's volatile oils are less water-soluble. They may partially evaporate with steam, rather than remain fully in the cup. This is why covering the cup while steeping can slightly preserve aroma. The steam condenses and returns to the liquid, rather than escaping entirely. The act of infusion is quiet chemistry. It does not require boiling or agitation. Even in warm water below a simmer, extraction occurs steadily. The color of the liquid may shift faintly toward gold. The scent grows more pronounced. As the infusion strengthens, the balance between gingerol, shogol, and other related compounds determines the sensation. Short steeping retains brighter notes. Longer steeping can allow deeper warmth to develop. Each minute changes the composition subtly. There is also a sensory component to watching infusion unfold. Steam curls upward. The surface of the liquid shimmers. Heat radiates gently from the cup into the hands. Before tasting, the body anticipates warmth through touch and scent alone. The cephalic phase of digestion begins once again. Saliva production increases slightly. The stomach prepares. If you allow the ginger to remain in the water as it cools, extraction continues at a slower pace. The rate of diffusion decreases with temperature, but it does not stop entirely. The liquid continues to carry the plant's chemistry outward from its fibrous core. Infusion is not transformation in the same way cooking is. The molecules themselves may not rearrange dramatically. Instead, they relocate. They move from solid plant tissue into fluid suspension. In this exchange, the rhizome shares what it stored underground. Compounds that once existed within tightly bound cells now drift freely in water. And as the steam rises and the warmth settles into the cup, the chemistry of ginger drifts gently outward, dissolving into liquid and spreading evenly, carried quietly by heat and time working together in steady rhythm. There is a kind of stimulation that feels sharp and restless, and there is another kind that feels clear and steady. Ginger tends toward the second. Its warmth activates receptors. Its aroma engages the senses. Yet it does not push the nervous system into urgency. Instead, it offers a defined signal, something the body can recognize and process without strain. The nervous system is constantly receiving input. Sensations from the skin, signals from the stomach, sounds from the environment, thoughts moving through the mind. Much of this input competes for attention. When a single, clear sensory experience becomes prominent, it can organize perception. Ginger's warmth is one such signal. There is some evidence suggesting that ginger may influence serotonin pathways, particularly in the context of nausea. Serotonin receptors are involved in both mood regulation and digestive signaling. Certain serotonin receptors in the gut contribute to nausea reflexes. Ginger appears to interact with these receptors in a mild way, which may help reduce nausea-related discomfort. This interaction does not produce sedation. It does not create euphoria. It gently modulates signaling. The nervous system continues its work, but with slightly adjusted input. When nausea decreases, anxiety often softens as well. The connection between the gut and the brain is strong. The vagus nerve carries information between the digestive tract and the central nervous system. If stomach discomfort eases, signals sent upward through this pathway may become less urgent. The brain registers fewer distress cues. Ginger's sensory intensity can also narrow attention. Strong flavors engage the trigeminal nerve and the gustatory system simultaneously. When these pathways activate, they become focal points in perception. Attention shifts toward the dominant stimulus. This narrowing effect is not forceful. It is similar to focusing on the warmth of a cup in your hands during a quiet evening. When attention rests on one steady sensation, other background distractions may fade slightly. The nervous system prioritizes clarity. If you imagine the moment of tasting ginger, receptors activate in the mouth. Signals travel along cranial nerves to the brainstem. From there, information moves into higher processing centers. The warmth is interpreted, contextualized, and integrated. The experience becomes part of the present moment. The concept of sensory gating helps explain this effect. The brain filters incoming information to prevent overload. When one stimulus is strong and consistent, competing stimuli may receive less emphasis. Ginger's warmth provides that consistent signal. Mild stimulation can coexist with calm. The nervous system does not require silence to settle. Sometimes it responds well to predictable input. A clear sensation, steady and contained, can reduce wandering thought patterns. The mind engages with the present signal rather than drifting toward abstract concerns. There is also a physiological element related to breathing. The act of sipping ginger tea often slows respiratory rhythm naturally. Warm liquid encourages slower inhalation and exhalation. Aroma accompanies breath. The pattern of breathing shifts without conscious effort. Slower breathing supports parasympathetic activity, the branch of the nervous system associated with rest and digestion. Ginger does not directly activate the parasympathetic system in a dramatic way. Instead, its sensory profile may indirectly support it by encouraging slower rhythms and reducing discomfort. If you picture the nervous system now, imagine a network of signals moving constantly, like faint electrical currents. Ginger enters this network as a distinct pattern, not chaotic, not overwhelming, just clear. The warmth remains localized. It does not escalate. It arrives, peaks gently, and then fades. Receptors return to baseline. Neural firing slows back to its resting pattern. In this way, ginger offers stimulation without agitation. It engages perception without pushing the system into overdrive. And when one steady signal takes shape within the nervous system, other scattered inputs quiet slightly in response, allowing attention to settle around that single clear warmth, a focused presence within a broader field of calm. Defense does not always need to be loud. Much of the body's protective work happens quietly, beneath awareness, through small chemical adjustments that maintain balance. Ginger has often been described as supportive in this quiet way, not as a cure, not as a shield against all illness, but as a plant whose compounds participate gently in the body's ongoing maintenance. Ginger contains a range of phenolic compounds, including gingerol, shogol, and related molecules. Phenolic compounds are known for their antioxidant activity. Antioxidants interact with free radicals, which are reactive molecules produced during normal metabolism and also in response to environmental stress, such as pollution or UV exposure. Free radicals are not inherently harmful. They are natural byproducts of cellular processes. However, when they accumulate in excess, they can damage cellular components like membranes and DNA. Antioxidants donate electrons to free radicals, stabilizing them and preventing further reactions. Ginger's phenolic compounds have demonstrated this antioxidant activity in laboratory studies. If you imagine this process, picture a cell engaged in normal metabolic activity. Energy is produced in mitochondria. In the process, reactive molecules form. Nearby, antioxidant compounds circulate. When a free radical encounters an antioxidant molecule, a small exchange occurs. The radical becomes stable. The chain reaction stops. This exchange happens constantly throughout the body. Ginger's compounds may contribute modestly to this network of stabilization. There have also been laboratory studies examining ginger's antimicrobial properties. In controlled environments, extracts of ginger have shown activity against certain bacteria and fungi. These studies are typically conducted in vitro, meaning in petri dishes rather than in living human bodies. The concentrations used in such experiments are often higher than what would be achieved through typical dietary consumption. This distinction matters. Laboratory results demonstrate potential mechanisms but do not automatically translate into clinical outcomes. Ginger may exhibit antimicrobial properties under specific conditions, but it is not a replacement for medical treatment. Its role is supportive rather than primary. Some preliminary research suggests ginger may influence immune signaling pathways. Certain studies have observed modulation of cytokines, which are signaling molecules involved in immune responses. These effects appear to be mild and context-dependent. The immune system is complex and highly regulated. Small shifts in signaling may contribute to balance, without overriding natural defenses. The body's immune system operates in layers. Physical barriers like skin and mucous membranes form the first line of defense. Cellular components, such as white blood cells, respond when pathogens are detected. Chemical signals coordinate these responses. Ginger's compounds may interact at the chemical signaling level, influencing inflammatory mediators and oxidative stress. If you picture immune cells now, imagine them moving through tissue slowly, guided by chemical gradients. Signals are released and received. Adjustments occur continuously. Ginger's phenolic molecules circulate in the bloodstream after digestion and absorption. They encounter enzymes, receptors, and free radicals along the way. Their influence is small but measurable in certain contexts. It is important to emphasize scale. A cup of ginger tea does not dramatically transform immune function overnight. Instead, ginger becomes part of the broader dietary pattern that supports overall health. Its antioxidant properties contribute alongside vitamins, minerals, and other plant compounds consumed daily. Defense within the body is rarely dramatic when functioning properly. It is steady and regulated. Antioxidants neutralize excess reactive molecules. Immune cells patrol quietly. Inflammation rises and falls as needed. Ginger fits into this pattern of subtle participation. Its compounds offer small chemical contributions to processes already in motion. If you imagine the rhizome once more, growing slowly underground, accumulating starch and phenolic compounds within its cells, those stored molecules later become part of the body's internal chemistry. What was formed in soil becomes integrated into circulation. Protection does not need spectacle. It operates best when balanced and measured. And within that balance, ginger's phenolic compounds participate quietly, offering subtle chemical support without fanfare, becoming part of the body's steady rhythm of maintenance and defense over time. Beside a small plate of sushi, there are often thin, pale pink slices resting neatly in a cluster. They look delicate, almost translucent. This is pickled ginger, and though it begins as the same underground rhizome, it tastes very different from the fresh, sharp slices we explored earlier. The transformation is not only about flavor, it is about balance. Pickling changes ginger in several ways. Fresh ginger contains water, gingerol, and a range of aromatic compounds. When it is submerged in a solution of vinegar, salt, and sometimes sugar, an exchange begins. The acidity of vinegar alters the plant tissue. The low pH environment affects flavor perception, softening sharpness and adding brightness. Gingerol may still be present, but the surrounding acidity changes how it is experienced on the tongue. The texture shifts as well. Vinegar penetrates the cell walls, slightly breaking down structural components. The once firm, fibrous slices become tender and flexible. This softening allows flavor to spread evenly across the palate. The sharp bite of raw ginger gives way to a more balanced tang. The pale pink color often seen in pickled ginger can occur naturally when young ginger is used. Certain pigments within fresh, immature rhizomes react with the acidic environment, producing a faint blush. In commercial preparations, coloring may sometimes be added, but traditionally, the subtle pink hue came from the chemistry of youth and vinegar interacting. Pickled ginger serves a specific sensory purpose in Japanese cuisine. It is commonly eaten between bites of sushi. Its role is to cleanse the palate. The combination of acidity and mild sweetness resets taste receptors. When fatty fish or rich sauces linger on the tongue, the vinegar in pickled ginger cuts through that lingering flavor. Taste receptors adapt when exposed to strong stimuli. Fatty foods, for example, can coat the mouth and reduce sensitivity to subtle flavors. The acidity in pickled ginger stimulates saliva production and helps dissolve residual fats. The palate clears. The next bite is experienced with renewed clarity. If you imagine this process now, picture the tongue after tasting something rich. Oils remain on its surface. Then a thin slice of pickled ginger is placed on the tongue. The vinegar contacts the receptors. Saliva increases. Residual flavors fade slightly. The next bite feels fresh rather than layered on top of the previous one. Pickling also influences microbial activity. The acidic environment created by vinegar inhibits the growth of many bacteria. In some traditional preparations, natural fermentation may occur, introducing beneficial microbes. However, most commercial pickled ginger relies primarily on vinegar's preservative effect, rather than fermentation alone. The transformation from fresh ginger to pickled ginger is not driven by heat this time, but by acidity and time. Molecules rearrange slightly. Texture softens. Sharpness moderates. The rhizome adapts once again to its environment. Flavor balance becomes central. Sweetness from added sugar tempers acidity. Acidity tempers heat. The result is something bright, but not overwhelming. The warmth remains present, but it is woven into a broader flavor profile. Pickled ginger demonstrates how preparation alters perception. The same plant that once delivered a concentrated warmth now offers a refreshing contrast. It does not dominate the meal, it supports it. If you picture the pale slices resting quietly beside a dish, they are not meant to be the centerpiece. They are transitional. They exist between flavors. Their purpose is to create space in perception, to clear and prepare. The rhizome that grew underground now serves as a sensory reset. Through vinegar and time, its intensity has softened into balance. And in that gentle transition between bites, pickled ginger performs its quiet role, refreshing the palate and resetting the senses gently, allowing each new flavor to be experienced with clarity rather than accumulation. In the places where ginger grows best, the air feels heavy with moisture. The soil is dark and loose, enriched by steady rain and warm temperatures. Sunlight filters through taller plants or simple shade coverings, reaching the leaves without scorching them. Ginger does not thrive in harsh exposure. It prefers balance. Warmth without extremes. moisture without flooding. Ginger is cultivated primarily in tropical and subtropical regions. Countries such as India, China, Nigeria, and Indonesia are among the largest producers. These climates provide the long growing season the plant requires. From the moment a small piece of rhizome is planted into prepared soil, growth begins below the surface. The planting process itself is simple. Farmers cut mature rhizomes into segments, ensuring that each piece contains at least one visible bud, sometimes called an eye. These segments are placed into shallow trenches and lightly covered with soil. From each bud, a green shoot eventually emerges. Above ground, slender stems and narrow leaves rise in upright clusters. Below ground, the rhizome thickens gradually. The growing cycle typically lasts 8 to 10 months. During this time, the plant focuses on expanding its underground structure. Photosynthesis in the leaves captures energy from sunlight. Sugars produced in the leaves travel downward and accumulate in the rhizome as starch. This stored energy allows the rhizome to swell and branch outward. If you imagine the soil parted gently, you would see the rhizome extending horizontally, each segment thickening slightly over time. New nodes form along its length. Fine roots extend downward, drawing in water and minerals. The growth is steady rather than rapid. Changes are measured in millimeters over weeks. Ginger requires consistent moisture, but it does not tolerate waterlogged soil. Proper drainage is essential. Excess water can lead to fungal diseases that damage the rhizome. Farmers often plant ginger in raised beds or well-aerated soil to prevent stagnation. Balance in moisture supports healthy development. Shade plays a role as well. Direct, intense sunlight can stress the plant. Partial shade allows leaves to perform photosynthesis efficiently without overheating. In some agricultural systems, ginger is intercropped with taller plants that provide natural cover. This layered growth mimics the conditions of tropical forest understories, where ginger species evolved. Harvest timing influences texture and flavor. Younger ginger, harvested earlier in the cycle, is tender and less fibrous. Its skin is thin and easily removed. This early harvest is often preferred for pickling. Mature ginger, harvested later, develops thicker skin and stronger fiber. The flavor deepens, and the rhizome becomes firmer. The harvest itself is careful work. Soil is loosened around the plant to avoid cutting or bruising the rhizome. Once lifted from the ground, the clinging soil is brushed away. The once hidden network of branching stems becomes visible. Each knuckle reflects months of gradual expansion. After harvest, ginger may be washed, dried, or prepared for sale. Some rhizomes are sold fresh. Others are sliced and dried for spice production. The journey from soil to kitchen begins with this slow agricultural cycle. If you picture a field of ginger now, rows of green leaves swaying lightly in humid air, beneath each plant lies a pale network growing steadily in darkness. The surface appears simple. The complexity remains below. The agricultural cycle of ginger reflects the same pattern we have seen throughout its story. Slow accumulation, transformation guided by environment, growth supported by balance rather than force. From a small planted segment to a branching rhizome ready for harvest, the process unfolds quietly over months. And in that humid soil, shaded from harsh light, Ginger continues its patient expansion, thickening gradually in hidden layers, shaped by warmth and moisture and time moving forward without hurry. Beneath the surface of the soil, growth unfolds without witness. There is no visible motion, no dramatic change from one day to the next. Yet underground, the rhizome expands steadily, guided by warmth, moisture, and stored energy. Ginger does not grow by stretching upward alone. Its true enlargement happens sideways in darkness. Along the length of the rhizome are nodes, small points where growth can emerge. Each node contains meristematic tissue, regions where cells divide and multiply. Over weeks and months, these nodes gradually branch. A small protrusion becomes a new segment. That segment thickens. Roots descend. Shoots rise. The process is incremental. Inside the rhizome, starch accumulates in specialized storage cells. Through photosynthesis in the leaves above ground, sugars are produced and transported downward. These sugars are converted into starch and stored within the underground stem. Starch acts as energy held in reserve. It allows the plant to sustain itself during periods of stress and to send up new shoots when conditions allow. If you imagine the rhizome now, you might see it resting within cool soil. Moisture surrounds it. Fine roots extend downward, drawing in minerals. Within its cells, starch granules sit like quiet reserves. Energy captured from sunlight is stored here, impaled tissue beneath the earth. Over months, the rhizome enlarges. Cell division occurs near the growing tips. Existing cells expand. The diameter increases gradually. What begins as a slender segment becomes a thicker knuckle. The branching continues outward in a horizontal pattern, forming a network. This horizontal expansion is known as clonal growth. Each new branch is genetically identical to the original plant. Rather than producing seeds, ginger spreads by duplicating itself underground. A farmer who plants one piece of rhizome can harvest multiple connected segments months later. The plant multiplies by extension, not separation. Clonal growth provides stability. The rhizome remains connected as it expands. Nutrients and water can move through this underground network. If one section encounters stress, another may compensate. The structure is cooperative. The soil surrounding the rhizome is not empty. It contains microorganisms, fungi, bacteria, and tiny invertebrates. This underground ecosystem supports plant health. Mycorrhizal fungi may associate with roots, helping increase nutrient absorption. In return, the plant provides sugars. The relationship is mutual and quiet. If you picture this ecosystem now, imagine fine threads of fungal networks intertwined with delicate roots. Nutrients move invisibly between them. Water filters through soil particles. Microorganisms break down organic matter, releasing minerals that become available to the plant. Growth underground is never solitary. Time shapes this entire process. 8 to 10 months pass between planting and harvest. During that time, the rhizome thickens slowly. There is no sudden leap from small to large. Expansion occurs in microscopic increments. Cells divide. Starch accumulates. Branches extend. The enlargement is not visible from above. Leaves sway in the breeze, giving little indication of what is happening below. the most substantial growth remains hidden. This pattern of expansion without visibility reflects the way many natural processes unfold. Change accumulates quietly. Structure builds gradually. If you imagine lifting the soil gently after months of growth, you would see a branching network where once there was only a single planted piece. Each segment reflects time stored within it. The knuckles and ridges mark stages of enlargement. Energy that began as sunlight now rests in starch-filled cells. Branches that began as tiny nodes now form a connected structure. The underground ecosystem continues its quiet exchanges. There is something steady about this expansion. It does not seek attention. It does not announce itself. And in the darkness beneath the soil, ginger continues its patient enlargement, branching outward slowly and storing energy in silence, expanding without visibility as months pass and growth unfolds unseen. A bold taste has a way of gathering attention. When ginger touches the tongue, it does not whisper. It announces itself clearly, though not harshly. The warmth blooms, the aroma rises, the receptors activate. In that moment, perception narrows. The sensory field becomes more focused. Strong flavors capture attention because they stimulate multiple sensory pathways at once. Ginger activates taste receptors, trigeminal heat receptors, and olfactory receptors simultaneously. When several systems respond together, the brain gives that stimulus priority. Other subtle inputs recede slightly into the background. This prioritization is part of how the nervous system manages complexity. The brain cannot process every incoming signal with equal weight. It filters and selects. When one stimulus is distinct and consistent, it becomes the center of awareness. Ginger's warmth is controlled rather than overwhelming. Capsaicin from chili can trigger intense burning sensations that demand urgent response. Gingerol, by contrast, activates similar receptors more gently. The result is stimulation without alarm. The signal is strong enough to notice, yet not strong enough to trigger stress responses. This balance allows a bold flavor to steady rather than agitate. When attention rests on a clear sensation, cognitive scatter can diminish. Thoughts that move rapidly from one subject to another may slow when anchored by a consistent physical input. The warmth becomes a reference point. Psychological research has shown that focused attention reduces rumination. When the mind concentrates on a present sensation, looping thought patterns can soften. This does not require silence. It requires something steady to attend to. If you imagine holding a warm cup of ginger tea, the warmth of the liquid, the scent rising with steam, the first sip creating a spreading sensation in the mouth, the experience becomes immersive. Attention aligns with sensation. Other stimuli remain present, but less prominent. Controlled stimulation can create calm. The nervous system often responds well to predictable input. When a sensory experience unfolds in a way that is gradual and consistent, the body interprets it as safe. Ginger's warmth builds slowly and fades slowly. It does not spike abruptly. That predictability supports regulation. There is also an element of contrast. A bold flavor stands out against neutral surroundings. This contrast clarifies perception. When one sensation is clear, it defines the moment. Predictable sensory input feels safe because the brain can anticipate its course. The warmth rises, peaks, and then declines. Receptors adapt and return to baseline. The cycle completes itself. If you picture the neural pathways involved, imagine signals traveling from the mouth to the brainstem, then upward to areas that process flavor and temperature. The pattern is consistent. The brain recognizes it quickly. Strong flavors can also interrupt automatic patterns. When a sensation is distinct, it pulls awareness into the present. The warmth of ginger is immediate and embodied. It invites attention to physical experience rather than abstract thought. This narrowing of attention is not restrictive. It is organizing. Instead of many scattered signals competing equally, one clear signal guides perception. In a world filled with constant input, clarity can be grounding. Ginger's intensity remains measured. It does not overwhelm the senses. It steadies them. If you allow the warmth to spread gently now, it feels defined rather than chaotic. It moves outward and then settles. The nervous system responds without urgency, and within that focused sensation, intensity becomes a stabilizing presence, an experience that gathers attention into a single steady warmth, creating clarity without agitation, an intensity that steadies rather than excites. Sometimes a scent appears, and before you can name it, a memory has already begun to form. The aroma of ginger can do this quietly. It may recall a kitchen in winter, a cup of tea offered during illness, or the scent of baking carried through a house in colder months. The connection happens quickly, almost before conscious thought. This speed comes from the structure of the brain itself. The olfactory bulb, which processes smell, connects directly to the amygdala and the hippocampus. The amygdala is involved in emotional processing. The hippocampus plays a central role in memory formation and recall. Because smell has this direct route, it can evoke emotional memory more immediately than other senses. When ginger's volatile compounds enter the nasal cavity and bind to receptors, a specific neural pattern forms. That pattern travels into the brain and activates associated memory networks. If ginger was present during meaningful or repeated experiences, those associations may resurface with surprising clarity. Comfort foods often rely on this mechanism. Gingerbread during holidays, ginger tea during recovery from illness, ginger in cultural dishes prepared at family gatherings. The scent becomes linked with context. Over time, the aroma alone can reawaken the emotional tone of those experiences. If you imagine the scent of ginger now drifting upward from a warm dish, the brain may search for previous encounters. A particular kitchen, a specific season, a person who prepared it. These memories may not be detailed. They may arrive as a feeling rather than a story. Seasonal associations are common. In many cultures, ginger is tied to colder months. Its warming sensation aligns with winter rituals. The smell of gingerbread may signal the arrival of a holiday. These patterns become encoded in the brain through repetition. Each year reinforces the association. Cultural rituals amplify this effect. In some traditions, ginger tea is offered as a gesture of care. In others, ginger is included in celebratory sweets or festive meals. The scent becomes part of shared experience. Over time, it carries collective memory as well as personal memory. Emotional regulation can be influenced by these associations. When a familiar scent evokes a comforting memory, the body may respond by softening slightly. Heart rate can slow. Muscles may relax. The brain recognizes the pattern as safe. This response does not require conscious effort. It arises from the brain's wiring. The amygdala evaluates stimuli for emotional significance. When a scent matches a previously positive experience, the response may lean toward calm rather than vigilance. If you picture the neural pathways now, imagine olfactory receptors activating in the nose. Signals travel directly into memory centers. A network of stored experiences lights up briefly. The present moment merges with past impressions. Not every person will have the same associations with ginger. Memory is individual, yet the mechanism remains universal. Smell connects to emotion efficiently and directly. There is also an anticipatory quality to scent. Before tasting, before touching, aroma prepares the body. Anticipation itself can carry emotional weight. If past experiences with ginger were soothing, the scent alone may begin to ease tension. The power of this connection lies in repetition. Each time ginger appears in a meaningful context, the association strengthens. Over years, these repeated pairings create stable memory pathways. If you allow the scent to linger in awareness now, it may feel grounding. It ties the present to the past in a subtle way. Aroma becomes more than chemistry. It becomes narrative. And within that quiet narrative, ginger's scent acts as an anchor, linking present sensation to remembered warmth, allowing aroma to serve as a gentle bridge back through time, a quiet anchor to the past. It begins as a stem hidden beneath soil. No bright color, no visible bloom. Just a thickening rhizome resting in darkness, drawing in moisture and storing energy captured by leaves above. From that quiet underground growth, a long sequence unfolds. Soil becomes starch. Starch becomes structure. Structure becomes sensation. From soil to sensation, ginger moves through many systems. Botanically, it is a rhizome, a horizontal stem that expands through nodes and branches. We have traced how it thickens slowly over months, storing carbohydrates in the form of starch. We have seen how it spreads clonally, forming networks underground. The plant's life cycle is patient and measured. When harvested, its chemical potential begins to shift. Cutting releases volatile oils. Gingerol meets air. Aroma rises. Heat converts gingerol into shogol and zingerone. Molecules rearrange. Cooking transforms sharpness into depth. Infusion dissolves compounds into water. Pickling alters balance through acidity. Each preparation guides the chemistry in a different direction. Those chemical changes shape perception. Ginger's warmth is partly an illusion of the nervous system. TRPV1 receptors activate, interpreting molecular contact as heat. Blood vessels may widen slightly. Sensation spreads outward. The body experiences warmth without a rise in core temperature. The signal is real, yet it is interpreted rather than measured. Digestively, ginger enters another system. Aroma prepares the stomach. Water-soluble compounds dissolve into the bloodstream. Ginger interacts gently with serotonin receptors linked to nausea pathways. Antioxidant molecules circulate. the immune system continues its quiet surveillance. The plant becomes part of internal chemistry. Culturally, ginger endures because it adapts. It appears in teas, soups, desserts, pickles, and medicinal traditions. It crosses oceans and centuries. Ancient trade routes carried dried rhizomes from Southeast Asia to distant empires. Observational medicine classified it as warming. Seasonal rituals integrated it into celebration and care. If you imagine the journey now, picture a rhizome growing in humid soil. Months pass. It is harvested and sliced. Steam rises as it simmers. Molecules dissolve into water. A cup is lifted. Aroma enters the nose. Warmth touches the tongue. Signals travel to the brain. Memory responds. Digestion adjusts. Immune cells continue their work quietly. What began underground moves through multiple systems at once. Botanical growth becomes culinary practice. Culinary practice becomes neural signal. Neural signal becomes emotional tone. Ginger does not belong to a single category. It is plant tissue. It is chemical composition. It is sensory experience. It is cultural symbol. Integration is the key. No single aspect defines it completely. Its warmth is not only receptor activation. Its aroma is not only volatile oil. Its presence in winter baking is not only tradition. All of these layers overlap. The soil provided minerals and moisture. The leaves captured sunlight. The rhizome stored starch. Heat transformed compounds. Water carried molecules. Receptors interpreted signals. The brain linked sensation with memory. If you let these layers settle in your awareness now, you can trace the continuity. Underground stem. Harvested root. Simmering slice. Rising steam. Spreading warmth. A plant moves through many systems, from agriculture to chemistry to perception. And in that movement, ginger travels from hidden growth in darkness to felt warmth within the body, crossing boundaries between soil and sensation, becoming part of both the natural world and the quiet internal landscape of experience. The warmth of ginger does not remain sharp forever. It begins clearly, spreads gently, and then softens. What once felt vivid becomes subtle. The receptors quiet. The aroma fades into the background. The body returns to its steady rhythm. In this way, ginger mirrors its own growth. It expanded slowly underground, unseen and patient. It stored energy quietly in starch-filled cells. It waited in darkness until harvested and brought into light. Even after being sliced, simmered, or infused, its effects unfolded gradually rather than all at once. Warmth rose. Circulation shifted slightly. Aroma traveled directly into memory. Attention narrowed around a clear sensation. And then, just as gradually, that sensation dissolved. If you imagine the feeling now, it lingers as a gentle trace. Not intense, not demanding, just present. The heat receptor signals return to baseline. Blood vessels settle. The nervous system resumes its wider field of awareness. The chemistry that once activated receptors drifts through digestion and metabolism. Molecules are broken down, absorbed, or carried away. What remains is the memory of warmth, perhaps a slight ease in the chest, perhaps a familiar scent that still echoes faintly. Ginger does not insist on staying at the center of attention. It moves from foreground to background naturally. Its intensity steadies rather than excites. Its presence organizes and then releases. The underground growth we explored is mirrored here in stillness. What grew in darkness returns to quiet. What stored energy beneath soil now settles into calm within the body. Breath becomes slower. Warmth aligns with exhale. The cup cools. Steam disappears. The room remains. And as sensation fades into a soft background presence, ginger becomes less a flavor and more a memory of warmth, allowing the body and the mind to rest, steady and unhurried, in the quiet that follows.